Can leadership be taught? Hey, I'm Jonno White and welcome to the Jonno White Leadership Podcast. The question today is around, can leadership be taught? Can leadership be developed? And I'm going to give you 3 tips on my thoughts of this question. We'll get to that in a second. Firstly, I just want to thank you for subscribing, following, liking, and sharing wherever you're watching or listening. If you haven't done that yet, please do that. Click that button right now. It helps us to help more leaders become the very best they can be. As I said, I'm Jonno White, founder of Clarity. We help leaders around the world, and I believe leadership can be taught. Some people say that leaders, you have to be born a leader, and I just think this is untrue. I remember for me, I grew up and I'm what I would call a social introvert. And I remember watching people who were big, charismatic personalities and thinking, man, I wish that was me. I so badly wish I could be like them. And then when I stepped into leadership roles, I felt a burden to be a big, charismatic leader. Because a lot of the leaders that I really look up to and listen to are big, charismatic leaders. But what I remember just having this moment where I was standing in front of a large group giving a presentation, and I was being really energetic and really upbeat, like, big charismatic Jonno. And I remember just looking at, and I'd lost them. They just were, people were distracted, and I remember thinking, man, this is so frustrating. I just can't do it like these other people do that I love listening to, that I love watching. They're so good at this, but I just can't do it. And so for a while there, I was really discouraged, thinking that I had to be this big, energetic, super charismatic person to lead well, particularly when it comes to, speaking in a meeting or presenting to a group. But along the way, I remember I sat down with someone who is a big personality, who speaks to 1 million teenagers a year. Get that, 1 million teenagers a year. And I had the chance to sit with him and ask him about how on earth, I just remember I was sitting eating dinner with him, had this amazing opportunity, and I said to him, I couldn't help it. I said, question, I'm sitting with you. You're such an incredible communicator. What is your number 1 tip for communication? Just one thing, because you do this every day to 1 million teenagers a year. What's the number 1 tip? And he said to me, story. He said, when you tell a story, people are able to step into the shoes of the person in the story, and that's how you really engage people. And that was a big epiphany for me. That was a big epiphany, because I remember having this revelation of okay, maybe it's less about me being this crazy, big, energetic speaker, and more what if it looked more like me using story really well? And so the next time I got up in front of a large group, I led with story, and I had a story through my whole presentation. And I just noted that as soon as I said, I remember when I started telling a story, people leant in, people got off their devices, they were listening. And that for me is why I believe leadership is taught. That's just one part of leadership. But I think great leaders are great vision casters, they're great at presenting, but you don't have to be a massive, energetic, charismatic person. If you can learn, like I did, to use story. And story is a much greater hook than any personality will ever be. And so that's just one example. And so I want to give you 3 tips around this area of, can leadership be taught? Can leadership be developed? The first tip I want to give you is to get around some truly great leaders. This sounds funny because it sounds really obvious, but it's not. I'm not saying listen to that great speaker you like, read that great book. We'll get there in a second. But firstly, I want to ask you, who are some leaders around you that you really respect? I'm talking, you look at their life and you go, that's the way they do life, that's got me written all over it. I want to do life like that. Get around those people, ask them to go out for a cup of coffee, and just ask them questions about how did they become that sort of leader. I think we really underestimate the importance of work-life balance and the way people do family. And so if you're wanting to be a certain type of leader, look for that person who's living that life, and they're leading they've got a family and they're doing life in a way that you go, I want to do life like that, and get around them. Just ask them out for a coffee and just ask their advice. And what you'll probably find is, like I'm saying, leadership can be taught, and you'll start picking things up off them. The second thing is to be a sponge for leadership ideas. Leadership is much less about who you are and how you're born, and much more about things like listening. Like there are lots of people who are naturally way down on a lot of areas, but if they can learn to be a great listener, boom, that makes you such a great leader compared to so many highly charismatic people who aren't good listeners. So go and read Brené Brown. Go and check out people like Tony Robbins, and how they do what they do. And go and read Jim Collins, Patrick Lencioni, and absorb ideas. For me, I love book summaries. I love just going on YouTube and just finding book summaries in 8-10 minutes, and I just watch a bunch of them. And there's something about that really suits my personality, sure. But also, I find that I just absorb these ideas. And 1 out of every 5 videos, there'll be something that goes light bulb, and I go, wow. And it gives me a new look at things. So definitely do that as well. That's my second tip. And the third tip around this whole idea of can leadership be taught is there's a big question I need to ask you. Okay, you're going to need to be someone. I hope you're ready for this, because if you want to be a great leader, you want to learn to be a great leader, there's someone you're going to have to be. And it's not going to be easy. You know who that person is? It's you. You don't have to be someone else. You don't have to be Tony Robbins. You don't have to be that great enigmatic speaker. You don't have to be Brené Brown. You don't have to be that TED talker that you love. You need to be you. And that sometimes can be the hardest thing of all because that means embracing how we are wired and embracing vulnerability and going, oh wow, these 5 areas, wow, I'm really weak in those areas. But did you know that's endearing? Did you know that people want to be led by someone who admits their own weaknesses, who's the first to say I'm sorry, who's quick to say I dropped the ball there, and who knows their limitations and who is committed to growing? So be you. And by that I mean own how you're wired and who you are, and lead out of that place. Don't try to be someone else. At the same time, learn. Like for me, using stories, who cares whether that's natural or not for me? I learned that's like 101 strategy for communication, and I implemented it. So learn everything you can, but make sure you're doing everything out of who you are, not trying to be someone else. But like I said, this can actually be sometimes harder. Sometimes it's easier to just copy someone else than it is to go, who am I? And sometimes that's a journey that takes 10 years to peel the onion away and actually go, no, this is who I am. And I'm okay with that, and I'm going to lead from that place because it will actually be endearing to the people around you. Excuse me. So leadership can be taught. It can be developed. And if this has helped you to get clear on anything in your leadership, then just comment with the word clarity below. And I just want to thank you again for subscribing, following, liking, sharing, wherever you're listening or watching to this. If you haven't done so yet, click that button, subscribe, follow, like, share. It helps us to get the word out and help more leaders to become the very best they can be. And it'll keep you in the loop so that every time we produce new content, you will be the first to know about it. Thanks for hanging out. I love spending time with you. I hope you found this valuable, and I really look forward to the next time we get to hang out. Have an amazing day. Thanks for spending time together. Cheers.